That's a little guy. Big guy.
He's doing great. Got cold,
Oh, really? Do what you do. More or less. No, because you were
but.
going to
465.
tell us what we want. What do you want? 3 and 2? No, I don't have it. No, I don't have it.
It's on here now, right?
It's on here, but I don't have it.
well,
Because, yeah, we don't have copies of it. Right.
you want me to make copies?
Do you want copies?
Well,
Probably.
we'll set them to do that.
Right, that's right, never mind. Never mind.
Hello.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just make copies.
Okay.
Hello.
Right on.
How you doing? Any more blue tags?
Yeah, they're in the back, on the left.
Great. Well, thanks. How are you?
Well, if we stand, we'll call this meeting to order, please. Recite the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Caroline, could we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Bradley?
Here.
Mrs. Minnie? Here. Mr. Platzer?
Here.
Mr. Apple?
Here.
Mrs. Trumbull here.
Okay, next, could we have, somebody want to make a motion that we accept our consent agenda for $318,183.12.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second to approve our agenda. Caroline, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Sure. Mr. Bradley?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnie?
Yes.
Mr. Platzer?
Yes.
Mr. Apple?
Yes.
Mrs. Trumbull, yes.
Okay, citizens wishing to address the Board of Trustees. Sherry McCollum.
Hi there, I'm here again, 3695 Ferndale. I just handed you a new set of pictures, that's the latest. Mr. Kleinstecker isn't here because he has a job out of state, so I'm representing the neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
As you can see, we have knocked down, or they have knocked down the porch, but now we have 2 piles of trash. The 90 days from the June date, court date, are now expired, so we're wondering what's happening there.
I think
This,
they had 6 months.
that was 90 days.
No?
It was 90 days, I checked, it was 90 days.
Oh, okay.
So, and that would have been.
Well, I'll get
September
Rod, I'll get Rod on it, our new zoning administrator then.
10th. Well, and we have some additions here, not just those pictures, okay? Up until Wednesday or Thursday, we had a bulldozer bucket sitting in their front yard. Our newest neighbor on the road came over here and complained. He lives 2 houses, he purchased a house last year, a cottage. He lives 2 houses down, and the storm, Mrs. Minnie was talking about earlier, he was quite concerned and came over because he was afraid of all that trash going over his way. Well, it was very nice, they did remove the bucket, but as you see from the picture, we now have a whole bulldozer parked over there. The, I'm not sure what you'd call it, kind of looks like a cage. That's been there for at least 2 months now. It's off to the one side if you look at the side pictures. As far as the back of the house, I did have permission from Mr. Gilbert to go on the property, take a picture of the back of the house there. You'll also see, and I stated before, the blight ordinance, where they've knocked the porch off, the end of the house is open, and now we have bats and we have squirrels that are having regular parties in there. With it becoming autumn, the smell, like you walk by and it's like this mold hits you. And as I said, the newest neighbor, he came over and was I guess pretty upset. He was telling me, and like this weekend being so nice, it was like clean up your yard. It was like the topic of conversation. I mean, one person finished their yard and go chit chat with another, ask them if they needed help, and you would hear the conversation. It's almost like, and this sounds rather rude, but it's almost like a game that's being played. You know, they remove one thing and then they put something else. Like the 2 stacks of trash, if they listed on Craigslist, you know, free scrap, 2 days it'd be gone. In the one picture you can see, I mean, one of them, it's a rusted out water heater. I mean, it's plain dangerous with kids and stuff. And we have some in our neighborhood. We have several grandparents and stuff. Now, yeah, we are going into the not so busy season, but we still have people coming up in the fall.
Well, I agree, you shouldn't have to put up with it.
Well,
And it's been
do they not
over a
have
year.
trash removal there? Do they seem to not have
No,
any trash?
they don't have any trash removal.
Because they don't
It's
live
like,
there.
I was talking a little earlier, you know, there's another house on the road that isn't used very often. The people come up once or twice a year. But they have a yard service, and they have the grass cut, and somebody comes and whacks, you know, they've got some weeds. They're actually right next door to Mr. Gilbert. I'd like to say that Wilton's come and cut their grass, but they really don't have much grass left. It's just kind of gotten dirtier and dirtier. And yeah, it's just, it's sad, and
Well, I know the building inspector is every week calling her, you know.
well, and then,
to,
you know, we filled out the paperwork, the different things we started last September. You know, we've been coming to the meetings, I checked, Dave came back last year, late in the year to a meeting. We've been
Dave was here
coming,
last meeting.
yeah, he's been steady, like I said, he's out of state at a job. He's been steadily coming since February. Y'all took him to court, it's just a sad state of affairs, and like I said, it's like a game, because, okay, we had the big truck that was parked there with the stumps in it for almost 2 months. Then, you know, like I said, this bucket was there, and the bucket was probably 4 or 5 feet. I could have almost fit in it, there was enough water in it, I could have taken a bath in it. And that was right dead smack in front, you know, maybe a foot and a half from the road, so, which also, where we live, as most of you know, is considered, you know, seasonal and such, so like our road isn't that wide. So to have 2 cars pass, you literally, you know, you kind of pull a little on someone's lawn, it's just the way the road is. And like, that made it a little difficult there. And it's not fair to the neighbor on the other side to have, you know, people going 2 feet into their yard because there's this big bulldozer bucket sitting in the front yard.
We haven't forgotten about it.
I know.
Something just brought up every week.
Well, it's
And
something
we
that
have 2 people here that are a problem, working together on this.
Yeah, well, like I said.
One of the persons we have an issue with and have them in court too.
Yeah, the gentleman told me, my new next door neighbors, and I wish I could think of his name, I can tell you all their
I can't
animals'
remember.
names
He
and her
called
name.
me, he called me.
Yeah,
I
and
got-
he was
And,
very heated, and I'm like, the neighborhood's been working on it, and he's like, you know, when's the meeting, and he wanted to come, but they live down at the
yeah,
other
they're
side
in,
of
they're in the
Detroit.
city someplace.
Yeah, and again, I mean, they've taken their little place, and they've cleaned it all up inside and out, and made it all nice, and,
Yeah. The day he came, I wasn't here, but,
yeah.
I called him, and I called him 2 or 3 times, and he's never returned my call, you know. But I knew what he wanted, because Marilyn conveyed what, you know, what he was after. And of course, I talked to the building inspector, and he went up and he made a call to, you know, the people that own the property, but, to no avail evidently.
And then we've been told, you know, they have multiple properties in multiple areas, and then it's a problem, you know. A
Well,
couple of
that,
us wanted, when they were unloading the trash that was in the house, we wanted to follow them, but we decided that'd probably be bad planning to see where they were planting it. You
See
know,
where they
where
were
they,
dumping it,
yeah,
yeah,
which place was
yeah.
gonna get it next.
well, let me turn this over to Rod, and I'll call him the first thing in the morning, or when I get in the office, and
And he,
have him find out where we are with the court date, because I honestly thought that they gave him 120 days to
no,
get
it
that.
was 90, and like I said, yeah, they knocked down the flat roof, but now we have a new mess, and we still have a building that has openings that animals can come in and out.
Yeah, I know our building, was that closed up at one point?
Tom told me that that building
We
was
were
all
told it was
closed up.
closed, at least it was enclosed.
What it was.
Well, you're
okay,
talking about up here, up in here? Is this where you're
and
talking
on the
about?
back, yeah, it was at one time, but it really wasn't, because like the door, they never did close off the windows. They never, on that flat roof area, we'll put it that way, the flat roof area that was around it, and that's where the trash is from. They never did completely, like, there was still, the lady, Mrs. Wilson had to bust a window to get in, because the door had sealed shut. That's how full of mold and how bad it was. Well, she never did seal that window. That window stayed open. And that window was on the porch area. And then with the door, once she pried it open, she had it shut, I believe it was a shovel or a rake that was leaned against it. And then the back of the house, and you can look at past pictures, literally was collapsing. And there was a window at one time that was there, that the window had busted out. And it was collapsing, and that window was left wide open. So, you know, like I said, it's just this continual saga, and, you know,
We have her, so,
so,
thank you.
Well, you know, I will get Rod right on it, see what we can do, and find out about the court date, because I don't know why, you know, and I talk to Tom about it every time he comes in, our building inspector, you know, and he went up, and he said it was all closed up. You know, I just took him at his word that he said it was, you know, closed up, so the kids couldn't get in the building and stuff like that, so.
well,
And I
now,
knew that mess was there, because I drive down there periodically,
and
you know, once a week, or, you know, every other week anyway, and see if it's progressed at all, you know.
and it's, and like I said, it's a chain, okay? We had a bulldozer bucket for at least almost a month, then that's gone, now we have a bulldozer. You know, the little crate was there. Ironically, when you went after them for the dump truck with the stumps in it, that was up in the gas station parking lot for a week and a half. Because every time I pass, it's like, hey, okay.
Well,
Which was better
I
than where
hate
it
to say
was.
this, but that's the kind of people we're dealing with, you know.
Yes,
and,
I know.
You know, it's not, you know, and it's no excuse for us, but, you know, it takes time, you know, to go through the procedures to get these things taken care of, so.
But in the same regard, this has been going on for years. There's been complaints made in previous years. This isn't the first time. And that's where some of the neighbors are getting a little, no, not a little, but the neighbors are getting frustrated because this has been a multiple year thing. This is, you know, like the third or fourth time that, you know, they've been trying to get something done. You know, I know Mr. Gilbert, he made complaints several years back.
We never saw them here. At least I never saw them.
Yeah, well, and it may have been before you were here, because, you know, this house has been empty at least 28 years that we know of. So,
Well, like I say,
We're trying.
we'll try
I know,
to, we'll
I
try to
know.
get it, we'll
It's,
try to get it underway and get it taken care of, you know. So. Okay. Mr. Abernathy.
Down 25, I think last month, there was somebody who had been given approval to build homes on a piece of property, and there were 2 used cars going up for sale on the property. I think that there's only one for sale now, but I'm hoping that a property that's been approved for one thing is not going to turn into a used car lot. I've brought, I don't know if that's even legal, to sell off of a business property or how that property is now zoned. But, you know, we're trying to keep 25 clean.
is that across from the bank, you're saying?
That's, I believe it is, yes. We're trying to keep 25 clean. I just FOIA'd the last 2 years of complaints, ordinance complaints. There's a pretty big stack of them. I know that you did put a lot of work in that, Carolyn, and I thank you for it. Many of these complaints just go back years. So I really feel for the people who, I can really understand why people don't even come here to make a complaint such as these people with a raccoon house that goes back I don't know how far. And rather than the board standing up to the ordinances, you're really bending in and you're saying, oh, well, we'll work with the people. On that entire stack that I got, I think there were only 2 people that were ever even taken to court. And even that's not been, hasn't been followed up, or there's just been no work done on it whatsoever. So my question, it's not a question, it's a comment. You put ordinances in place, you keep putting ordinances in place, and it just gets to be really tiring to have people come in time and time and time and time and time again, when it's your job to support those ordinances and to follow up on them. I see that we
It is
knew-
really tiring.
I
And
can
you realize
understand,
we're on
but
our
that's the
third-
job, that's the job over here. That's not our job.
And not to make an excuse, but we're on our 3rd zoning administrator. Hopefully, we finally have one that's going to stay with it.
I've heard that 3 times.
Well,
you know. I don't know what.
You know, if you want to go
I
try to find
understand
one for
that-
us.
I understand how frustrating that is for you. I honestly do. But, you know, just me looking at the paperwork, that doesn't look like it's done the way that it really should be. I certainly couldn't follow a lot of the paperwork that was there about the ordinances, and I'm not going to say any more about that. You know, the raccoon house has lead and asbestos in it, and we were told by Mr. Apple that we would be made sure that that kind of stuff was going to be legally followed. I don't think that when it's sitting out in the front yard, it's being legally followed. I really don't. And that's just a plain safety hazard for the people who live in there. We have Mark here tonight who's really concerned about the safety hazard issues of this township, wanting to get signed in to place a book. But we already have a book. It's called an ordinance book. It's huge. And it seems the board isn't following what you put in place. You put lots of them in place and ignore them. There's a Len's Pool's got a place for a big thing for sale again. He's opened up another car lot. We have a new business in front of the cabinet shop now. I welcome new business. You know, as a business person here, I'm for business. But I don't think that, I was not at a planning commission meeting, I don't think I've missed one. I don't think that that particular little wood cutting business actually came and did what the board has said is necessary to do business in this township. They have a sign out there, I don't think they have a sign permit, it's sitting right on the edge there, I don't even think I think it's on state property. I welcome that business, but I also think that they need to pay the $400 and follow the rules that you expect of everybody else. And to drive by it every day and not notice it, I just can't understand. There's 5 of you that drive up and down 25 all the time. So, you know, I'm a bit, it just gets irritating to me to see that kind of thing. You know, I welcome the business, absolutely, but I also welcome them in the manner in which they should move into the township. And that's not my job, that's your job. I'm also, I just would like some information before any votes taken on this, on the fire hazard book. I am somewhat familiar with it because it's an international book, I believe it's an international code. Because I was doing some business in New York City that I had gotten involved with that book. We don't even take care of the blight that's in the city or in the township. And, you know, there's reports of blight that have to be fire hazards. No one has to know that trying to get into some of these places. I made a complaint on somebody you put on the planning commission, that if you had to get down there, and he runs a business out of his home or out of his property, legally or not, if the fire department had to get down there, just the blight alone would cause problems. So before we enter into a book that's however many inches it is, personally, as a business owner, I'd like to know a little bit more about what's contained within that. Do we have to have a board of appeals? You know, are there fines, are there tickets, or, you know, what kind of rules? Does the planning commission have to know about this book in order to give approval for new buildings? What criteria is it going to take? I know farms deal with chemicals all the time. Does this mean that farms have to be fall under this category as well with the chemicals that they use as far as bringing them in, using them safely, and disposing of them? You know, what is the criteria for the inspection? Home businesses, businesses like I have that are on my property, people who are running little auto repair shops out of their garage, you know, are dealing with hazardous chemicals. You know, is oil disposal being done properly? Does that fit into this? To what extent is this going to be done? How many people are going to be involved in it? Who's going to fall into that category and who doesn't? I mean, it's almost like another ordinance book. And the ordinance book, to me, in the 3.5 years that I've been coming here, just isn't being properly handled. So I just personally would like to know a little bit more about, and I do not disagree whatsoever that, because every ordinance starts out with the safety of the people. That's what this book is all about, and I fully understand it. I just want to know how deep is it going to go. You know, ignorance of the law is no excuse. You know, I checked out as much as I could possibly check out when I moved here, before the planning commission. I know others have done the same thing. But there, when you put in new rules and regulations, you know, it brings up questions, and other businesses owners have asked me the same thing to, you know.
Okay,
That's all I got to say.
thank you. Mr. Churchman.
Good evening. I would like to understand the process to change a residential property to a multifamily property classification, the zoning classification to a residential multifamily.
Could we address that one? Planning commission.
It's in the book, I mean, I don't quite understand what you're saying.
What's the process? Let's just say you own property, I own my property, and I want to change it to a multifamily residential. How do I go about it? Or how does someone else go about it?
Well, we just did which we haven't done in quite a while, any zoning changes, we just did the Mr. Couplin's property, which he was talking about there. We switched that from, basically it was multiple to single family. It's public hearing, you gotta fill out all the forms that we have here. There's a whole thing there that.
Well, in the master plan, isn't there 4 or 5 multifamily residential classifications in the township right now?
Multifamily, 4 or 5?
Residential,
No,
Residential, maybe. Mhm.
residential multifamily,
probably three,
3.
probably, I don't know,
Well, I look at the map, I think there's 3.
don't hold me to it, but I think it's 3.
Okay, would an apartment complex be under that multifamily residential?
Yes.
Okay, so you only think there's 3, huh?
And I'm not positive now. I mean,
So-
but we can work with the book, show you the form that,
Okay, so the process would be to go to the planning commission, is that what you're
Yeah.
saying?
you pay,
Okay.
you pay, what, you gotta fill out all the paperwork, and I think it's $500-600, gotta have the public hearing.
To have a public hearing, and that process then would be to provide, what would one need to do to provide the information to the planning commission so they can make a reasonable decision?
It's all in the form,
It's all in the form.
we can show you after the meeting,
Yeah, I'd love to see it, sure.
it's no problem.
Yeah, that's no question.
Okay, is that all?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board?
I make it muddy enough?
Pardon?
I make it muddy enough? Answer.
Okay, moving on, the approval of our agenda. Somebody care to make a motion to approve our agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Give a second.
Support.
We have a motion and support. We don't need a roll call.
No.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Department reports. Mark, Fire Department.
We have a rescue truck in currently getting fixed. The body was starting to show some age, so we sent it to get repaired. They're putting it back together today. We found a little excess of problems than when they got into it, started taking doors apart. So the autocrafts got it together and tried to put all the hardware back on it, so it should be back in service any day now.
Okay.
And then as you have the National Fire Code on, Fire Prevention Code on the agenda, so that's all I have for my report then.
Okay, thank you. No, Building Department? Anything?
What's up with John's?
Couple?
Yeah.
I believe that Lori's got a meeting set up with,
We have a meeting scheduled
Yeah.
for,
it's just over the.
Wednesday morning.
the previous roads that were
Right.
abandoned.
Right, but I knew that something had to be done, and I didn't know where it was at.
that meeting is scheduled
Yeah,
for Wednesday.
they're still working on the paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah, Lori's going to present it to 2 of the board members, and then it'll probably be discussed with Mr. Tuma. He has to get all of his permits to us before the zoning is actually, the rezoning is actually completed. We have to see all of the permits that are required are signed and okayed. And then we have to publish that the rezoning was, approved. And he can't build until, I think it's 7 days, I gotta look at that again, 7 days after the publication. But this is all after the lot splits are approved, and it has to do with the abandoned roads. The question is, 3 of the lots he can begin building now, if he gets me the permits. And we publish, and that's it.
Okay.
Okay, moving on, Water Department. Dusty's in the midst of flushing all the hydrants. So that's going on. Moving on to our library. Jane?
If anybody hasn't taken a look, the new bench is out in front of the library now, the one that was in memory of Marilyn Cooper. We have a new library board member as of the end of August. Arnold Whitey Larson had left the board, and his replacement is David Whipple, who is an attorney in Port Huron, so he will represent the main library and us on the library board. And this is library card sign-up month, so if anybody's up there's expired or knows anybody who wants one, it's a good month to send them in to get one. Our computer classes did start tonight, and Carol Ann, in answer to your question, it's Windows 7 and the newest edition of Microsoft Office that is on the
Okay.
computers that you'll be using.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
That's it.
thank you, Jan. Unfinished business, the International Fire Code. Mark, do you care to address that again, or?
Yeah, I sent you guys an email, you had some questions. I talked with Kimball, Burtchville Township, Fort Gratiot, Sandusky. All that is all run through, I sent you guys an email, it's all run through the fire department. You guys don't have to hire another inspector, it's all through the fire department budget, it's no cost to the general budget. I checked with what the inspectors are paid in the other townships, and it's a minute amount. It's only, like Fort Gratiot, only going to do the businesses that are, that have foot traffic. And it's, I don't know the question you guys had, but I answered them all in an email. I emailed you one, I dropped one in Al's box, because they'll get emails, yes. So that answered, that's all of that, so.
Yeah, I read
You know, and
that.
it's, like I said before, it's the same as the plumbing code, the mechanical code, the electrical code, it's the same thing.
But those are all licensed inspectors, and that's another question I have.
Yeah, so we have licensed inspectors, I've talked to people on the appeal board. All the other townships, they've never had an appeal, so they have people on board that they ever had to call. One of the townships appoints it as needed. I've talked
Is
to-
that appointed from the fire department within the
Well, yeah,
department?
I already had, an inspector from Kimball said, yeah, you need somebody on the appeal board, put a name down, put mine down. I've already had the guy from Fort Gratiot said, you put my name down, they said they've never had any appeal, so it's not a ticket writing campaign, it's
How often are these done usually?
once a year.
And I still haven't seen the book, so I don't really know any, I'm Mr. Everett, I don't know anything about it.
Okay. If I gave you a plumbing code book, would you understand the plumbing code book? If I
I
gave
probably
you
wouldn't
If I
understand.
gave you electrical code book, would you understand that?
Mark, I
I
know,
have this right here, and I can give it to you. There's, whatever, 300 pages there, and I'm not sure you would understand even the types of buildings. Not that I didn't.
I
One
am
of
in
you
the
guys at the
insurance
last
business,
meeting,
Mark,
you were
I
gonna
know a little
order.
bit about building construction.
Okay, I'm just saying the codes, do you understand the codes, that's all I'm asking.
The
So,
codes?
Yes.
The
codes.
fire code?
No, building construction codes.
I think I understand some of them.
Okay. At the last meeting, you guys were gonna buy a couple. I thought you guys voted to buy a couple copies of them, but maybe I misunderstood the meeting. You guys were gonna buy them. So anyways, you had questions, I got them.
I thought we were gonna get the one back that we already had.
Where is
I
it?
thought Doug had it.
Mark is the one that gave
I have
it.
it. I
Doug,
thought
that's the
you
one
guys
that
were gonna get a couple.
I thought that was gonna be passed around.
Yeah, I thought that was gonna be passed around. And from what I remember of your email, it doesn't include home occupation.
No, I think you said foot
Yeah,
traffic.
I asked Campbell for
That
Gratiot,
makes-
Florian Township, Sandusky, it's only businesses that have foot traffic. For example, make sure the fire extinguishers have current code testing, make sure the exit lights work, make sure the doors aren't chain closed, make sure the storage rooms aren't filled full of boxes to the.
We don't we already have inspectors that do this is what I don't understand. Our exit signs, we have people that inspect that. We have inspectors that come and inspect the,
Some people do and some people don't. You guys have that, and as a fire department, we just go through and all we do is look at the tag and make sure they're done. It's not a.
It's the updated, the fire.
yeah, well, but it
extinguishers
seems like
and stuff like that.
somehow, some of it seems
Yeah.
like double inspecting to me, I don't know.
But nobody inspects that. Who inspects that? You hire a company to come in and recharge those, but there's not an inspection of it. There's no one looks to make sure the exit, I don't know, I'm just trying to pick different things.
Unless the business does it. The
Unless
business
they do,
can
it's
do
not-
it.
it's
Because the
not-
bank will do it.
Right, and the bank does it, some,
Bigger,
yeah, the bigger place, not bigger, but.
they have to have it for their audit.
Right.
Yeah, so that's all, I guess, for, for the ones who are, they do it for all their branches or for all their stuff, they do that stuff all at schools, they usually do that. Smaller places, churches, there's no way to ever say that the exit lights work. There's no one to ever check to see if the fire extinguishers are, if they're in a proper location, if the exit doors aren't screwed shut. There's no one who does that at all, zero. On apartment complexes, we don't have it that there's, whatever. You name the thing that could happen on any one of our apartment complexes, our, the Lake Huron Retreat Center, the Camp Great Scout, all those places, we have no one who inspects safety on any of those buildings. And this is not about writing tickets, this is,
What happens after you inspect?
well, normally what happens, they said, you just, say they find the storage room's full of boxes. And they would say, you need to not, they write it up and just say, you need not to store little empty boxes around the furnace. And then they come back in, 30 days or 2 weeks, and just make sure they cleaned it up.
And if they haven't?
Then they say, you need to do this. And they said, really, other than a few low-end managers, or whatever you want to call them, who don't do those kind of things.
Like the problems we have with,
Yes.
light? Some people
Right,
just
but
can't
some
train.
places, if it was a public safety thing, I think, for, let's pick a Lake Huron Retreat Center.
Mhm.
If they were chaining all the doors shut, except for one door, I think you could probably force them not to let people spend the night there. Because that's a hotel, they got 16 rooms, they've got 2 floors, even though it's a private thing, there's still expectations. Who has checked their, I know they have a fire alarm system there, who has checked their fire alarm system to make sure it's working? Even though it says fire alarm in nice white letters, who's tested that? All you do is just look to see if they've done that. And they,
Mhm.
it's just a check and balance system, that's all it really is.
And on an annual basis, knowing what we have here in the township for businesses or apartments or whatever, what do you think the cost is for inspecting?
Fort Gratiot pays their inspectors $10 an inspection. Kimball Township is the most, they pay $20 per inspection. Fort Gratiot has, I think, 550 businesses. We have,
Well,
30?
Yeah,
I'm
30?
just saying for
Okay.
comparison. So it's really, if you pick a median number, $15 times 30 businesses, that's $450. You would pay inspectors total for the year to go through and do that stuff. So it's not a budget busting type thing.
But then if you have problems, like you say, then you've got to go back. Now you're repeating that, so you're getting up to,
Well, it's just,
I'm just curious how
nobody,
it works.
none of the other things, they just go back and check. They just say, none of them have said they've ever had to write a ticket ever. It's always,
And do they have a capability of writing tickets? I mean, are they
Well,
licensed to do
yeah,
that? They can write tickets?
I don't know how they do that. I
Okay.
can ask that, because they said, we never do it, we don't write tickets. We just go in and say, hey, we need to put, that stairwell in an apartment house, that needs a handrail on, or the exit, whatever. I'm just picking the normal things that
And
are
hopefully-
issues. We don't have multi-story buildings, we don't
Right.
have standpipes where fire trucks have to pull into, we don't have fire lanes in front of businesses because we don't have malls, so some of the stuff is, it's just almost like you guys were thinking, who's checked the smoke detector, who's,
Mhm.
the emergency lights, has anybody ever touched the emergency light in the buildings? So inspector walks in and he hits the safety, the override on it, and see the lights come on. If they don't come on, they say, that needs to get fixed, and they come back in and put it in the, and make sure the bulbs are replaced and the batteries are working in emergency lights. So when the power goes out during a church service, the people can get out of the building. It's just
It's a safety measure for the public, is what basically is what it is.
And
It's like a double safety measure, because You should be doing that in the first place.
Yeah.
Well,
And
somebody's,
then it allows you to
I
go out and
assume
make sure
someone
you are
was
doing
inspecting
it.
these.
Nobody.
No.
Once you get CFO in our township, a building never gets inspected ever again. Ever, ever,
Well-
ever, 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 unless it changes use.
Okay.
It never gets changed, never gets inspected ever again. No one ever checks anything to make sure, you know, they could, and I'm just using, they could change the door shut and screw them shut. No one ever does it. You know, and,
If people are doing that, I worry that, how are we going to enforce this anyway? Other than not that that's not a good thing, Mark, I don't mean that, but I mean, you see what we were going through with enforcing the ordinances with people that just don't want to follow
well,
the
it's all run,
rules.
every township says it's all run through the fire department. They don't, the township, other than getting maybe a
But the fire department
violation.
comes under the township.
No, I'm just
umbrella.
saying, you guys don't have to do the day-to-day
No, I
operations
understand
to
that.
make sure the inspector is whatever and, you know,
But I assume we would receive a report
yeah. If you,
of what
if
was.
inspections are made, you know, these inspections were made this month or something, that's true.
Okay.
You know, what violations were found.
Another benefit too is, okay, if they do the inspection, say like at church, tonight on the news, there was just a senior citizens home that caught on fire. Because the fire department had done regular inspections, they knew where the places were that the people would be. So they were able to get them out better and easier than if they didn't know. And in a lot of factories, you have that where, you may have a big conveyor belt, you only have one person running it, but you may in the very back corner have like the lunchroom, and at certain times of the day, you'll have 2-3 dozen people there. And so by them doing their inspections, like when I worked at Girl Scouts, that was one of the things, when the building first went in, they got the map, but they also they noted on it the different rooms, like this room is, like an auditorium style, whereas, this is the main office and this is where there'll be people all the time. The auditorium is.
Right, I understand that.
Which is, the benefit in that aspect.
I agree, if it's foot traffic, I don't wanna send my kid to school and not know that the janitor's not doing his job by checking light bulbs. It's just,
Or that there's a
you know,
gasoline can in the storage room or.
I mean, people are supposed to do this, but it's, to have an enforcement agency, I don't think you're gonna have a problem like we do so much with blight. When it's an expected thing, that, a fire extinguisher only lasts for so long, I don't always think to look at mine, and when you go, wow, you go reach for it and it doesn't work, at least, if Mark's got somebody coming in going, hey, I checked all your air, everything's fine. It gives you a peace of mind in the first place, and it just makes people aware.
Well, I know our building inspector, he highly recommends that we adopt the code.
Well, I'll talk to Pat Smith.
I talked to Pat, yeah, he said everything you said.
Yeah, I mean, you can elaborate some more.
Yeah, no, it's basically the same thing, yeah. There's still a few other questions I had also. I just lost my thoughts on.
They only happens to old people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, there was something I was gonna ask you. I was just thinking of it too, but keep talking.
Well, is this something that we want to take up tonight, or is this something that we want to table again? And I'm asking the board for,
I'm okay with doing something tonight. I read Mark's answers. I listened to what he said tonight. I worked in a dental office. We had fire inspection every year. It was a very small office, but I had to have the MDS book where they knew where it was. The exits had to be checked. There couldn't, nothing was locked so that people couldn't get out. The fire extinguishers worked, the emergency lights worked. We don't have a ton of businesses. If it's not gonna be in the township to have to run, I understand we're responsible for the fire department, but it's safety. So, I'm okay with it.
Well, my question was gonna be, say we adopt this, inspector goes out and starts inspecting all the businesses, what if he finds they don't have exit signs, they don't have fire extinguishers?
That's what my question is. What do
You
we
know, They
do?
don't have nothing, they don't have lights, I mean, we got old businesses
But
here.
it's like
What-
anything else,
what are
you
they-
need to show improvement. They're an existing building, so,
So are they gonna be
And then-
required? or-
The enforcement of it is
I
what
mean-
I'm concerned with, Mark.
I mean, we
is the
can, yeah,
enforcement.
that's it, I mean, we can say, recommend it.
yeah, but
I mean,
If they're in
I don't-
business, wouldn't they had to have it before they opened the business?
no,
No,
I don't wanna
Not necessarily.
start naming names or anything, I mean, we got a lot of stuff here that probably doesn't have it.
But, it's one of those things.
With
you
walk-in
start-
traffic,
Yeah.
then it's wrong, they need to have it.
Then it's.
well, that's
And
the
if they have
question though, is,
employees-
Cindy, is how do you enforce it if we,
How do you enforce it?
that's the question. We can
Well,
inspect it, we
You're
can
not enforcing
recommend.
it. That's the one coming, if you're not enforcing it, you're making me do it and they don't have to, and,
But you can
Not that
tell
we're
them too,
against
it'll help with their insurance.
no, I'm not against it
A
at
lot
all,
of
safety's
places,
number one.
What's that? Yeah, well,
But some of it is,
Some of them don't
You work
fit it.
toward it, if they've got, I'll pick a while, if they've got 10 violations, obviously you work on, working with them to get the most important one, maybe the door is unscrewed. We can't screw doors shut. Let's pick a second one. We can't do that, well, let's work with some things. Let's get some exit signs this year, and, get them, you don't have to say, okay, we're gonna cost you $1 zillion to get all these things. There's some things that, are just, I think if people are encouraged or prodded, I think people are willing to do something. That, it's not a going out and shutting down businesses kind of thing, And the reason they've got so far, because we don't have a plan review by a fire inspector, when I get, St. Edwards, they want to do, who's doing your plan review? We don't have an inspector, to do plan review as in fire, where's your fire lanes, is the hydrant located close enough? We don't have plan review on that kind of stuff, which is a phase on the normal mom and pop thing. It's not a big deal, but when you get a strip mall or a school or, something larger, those things become important unless someone's making sure the architect doesn't overlook that the fire hydrant is within 500 feet of the building, or, just little things on plan review that you just, oh yeah.
and that's what you would, the
That's what the-
inspector would do.
That's what
And they're trained to do all that?
there's a class starting into college, and I was thinking about signing up for it, but once again, I don't know if I can volunteer another half my life to go take this.
I know it, that's the tough part.
I'm the
Well,
lowest paid chief
that's
in the
my
county.
concern, Mark, is
But you
finding.
have somebody, you said.
Yeah, I had
Well-
a couple guys, and since they knew that we were looking at this, they said, hey, I would be available, but we have a guy in our
But they're
department.
not licensed yet.
So say there was a fire someplace and somebody was killed, God forbid. Couldn't somebody, the family, go back and say, well, somebody's at fault? The township had an opportunity to do this, they didn't do it, so they don't check anything. Aren't we liable then?
I don't think
No.
I don't think you'd be liable
No.
for that.
Your dog bites somebody, you're gonna be liable.
Absolutely.
But I don't think because we don't do inspections we're liable, but I just think we're not doing what's in best interest of our people. and our-
I agree with that, and that's why we were voted in to take care of
And the
people.
same as with back in the day when you put in a plumbing code, that every house would have an indoor bathroom. It's the same kind of thing. It's not, that's basically the same.
I guess,
Same
Mark, I
comparison.
just want to see your proposed setup, exactly how it would operate and how you would enforce it, is what my concern.
Okay. I mean, I'll get the form, but I don't want to start going through and getting all the forms and all that stuff until we had a code to work with. And it's a fair amount of work, I mean, I understand your concerns, Carolyn, and, if you guys, if the other four voted in tonight, we're surely gonna put that together. We'll have an inspector, we'll have a backup inspector, we'll appoint an appeal board, so we have 3 names on there, it's not a,
Well,
It's
there
not a
again, it's not a criticism of what you're wanting to put through at all, Mark. It's getting the plan together and knowing that if we adopt this, that we can carry it through.
I'll carry it through.
Well, I know you
I'm the department head and,
want to.
kind of I think it falls underneath under Public Act 300, the state law. I think it all falls under my responsibility as far as, you know.
Well, my thought on this is we've got the fire chief sitting here asking us for this deal. We've got our building inspector asking us to approve this. And it's for the public safety of the community. At least that's my thought on it. And it isn't something, like Mark said, that's gonna break the bank. It isn't, you know, we're approving this, and when it changes next year, we automatically change with it. We don't have to do anything to adopt a new ordinance or anything else, and I think it's just a good idea, you know, to adopt it, you know. But,
Well, I don't think it's a bad idea, but to speak to Jody's concern, once you adopt it, you are now responsible.
Well,
Well,
So
is
yes,
there
you're
nobody
not-
being responsible?
Exactly.
So now you are liable
So we started an inspection to get all this.
Liable for what?
what are you liable for?
for whatever you didn't do if there's a fire. If you have that law and you haven't inspected it recently, or your inspector left the area and you don't have a new one yet, that's a concern. I look at that stuff.
Well,
It's not
I'm
that I
gonna
don't
make a
want to.
motion that we accept the International Fire Code. And
I'll second it.
Before you do any vote on it, what, the stuff we got, I believe this is probably from Doug,
Right.
is this the only thing that has to be published?
Apparently, that's my understanding.
Because it says the ordinance shall be recorded by the clerk and shall be published once in a newspaper.
It has to be read once, and that would be the first, when it's first approved. And then you have to, I'm trying to get to the last page and it's stuck together just a minute. Then we have to have a second reading, which is the next month, and then we have to adopt, that's when we actually adopt it. We wouldn't adopt it tonight.
This is gonna be the first, this will be
Consider the first
the first
reading.
reading, yes.
Then the next reading would be next month, and that's when we would adopt it, and then you have to publish the notice of adoption. And it's not effective until then, but you can do that immediately, I think.
But in the meantime, I can be starting to get forms together and tracking all that.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to make sure that whatever's got to be published, you have your hands on it, you can get it published
This is
within
it.
the 10 days.
This is
Because it
it.
says within 10 days.
Right.
This is it.
Yeah.
This is what you're doing.
Yeah.
So we have a motion on the floor to accept the International Fire Code.
Yeah, we wouldn't be adopting it tonight. We would just-
This will be-
however it
this will
needs to be worded.
Well, it starts the
This
process.
starts the process.
Mhm.
So all in favor, or I guess we better need a
Yeah,
roll
there's,
call vote.
there'll be
Yeah, that might work better, roll call vote,
Uh-huh.
please.
Mrs. Minnie?
Yes,
Mr. Apple?
Yes.
Mr. Platzer?
Yes.
Mr. Violet?
Yes.
Mrs. Tremblay, yes.
Okay, motion carries. So we will get this in order and get it done.
So this has to be published twice?
No,
Once.
once.
once. Look at number
First.
5.
Yeah. If you go to this page, first reading, published notice of second reading and adoption, published notice of adoption.
You gotta, yeah, you're right. It is-
It's published that you're going to read,
It's on the
reading.
It's gonna be at our next meeting. but
Right.
it'll be at the next
That's right.
Publish that you're second reading.
Mhm. Right, that's correct.
You're not. You gonna be at our next meeting?
We're not going to Europe until later in the month.
October 20th.
In October 23rd, I'm going in.
Okay.
Okay.
Because you're the ones going to answer the questions, that's why I was asking. Make sure you're covered, so.
I'll go by Skype with that.
Okay, moving on to new business. We're gonna do Dusty's biannual review, and we'll do that in closed session. Moving on to salt purchases for the winter. Ron, have you got the?
You got them. And actually, you might have Ruth speak to that, because she's the one who did the work on it.
There's Ruth.
I know how to
Okay, we got 2 bids for salt. And we got one from, who did we get?
Morton?
Melker Brothers.
Melder Brothers and
Mortimer's.
and Mortimer's. And
Mhm.
Mortimer's was actually the better price. The only difference, I think, in Mortimer's and ours was like 3 degrees that the salt melts, you know, at 0, what it'll melt, but I think when it gets that cold, it doesn't really make that difference.
We can check that.
I'm not gonna be able to pick with my
Yeah.
thermometer.
The one is
You might
good,
wanna.
one is good for 15 below, and the other is good for 7 below, and I don't think anybody wants to go outside and check that anyway, when it's, see if it's gonna melt or not, but the difference in the prices here, let me, yeah,
28.90 and Mortimer's was 27.
27.67.
I moved to approve the Mortimer's.
Would you like to put that in the form of a
He
motion?
just
It did.
Oh, I'll second it. Okay, we have a motion on the floor to accept Mortimer's bid for $2,767. Do we have a roll call vote, please?
Yeah, no discussion, we already discussed it, right?
Well, does somebody, well, I'm sorry, does somebody want to discuss it, salt that's going to melt the ice? It's kind of hard to discuss that when the weather's less nice.
Okay. Then we'll do the roll call.
I would ask for roll call vote, please.
Mr. Violet?
Yes.
Mr. Apple?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnie?
Yes.
Mr. Cladsman?
Yes.
Mrs. Tremblay, yes.
And by the way, to let everybody know that by the end of the month, it's going up $2 a bag.
Everything else.
Moving on,
What does a bag of salt cost?
over the bag, they got it here, like $9.40, $9.41
20% increase, over 20% increase per bag. So
per bag, yeah, at the end of the month.
Last year it was 350 something.
The same with gas going up before Labor Day weekend.
It's terrible. I mean, they, of course, they got you, you know. Supervisor's report, I really, Mark, other than the fact that, you know, I went to the meeting for the emergency management deal, and there's some things that you and I need to discuss. I mean, you know, that we have to do, some forms and stuff for the chain of command to come down. We need to fill that out, and I got all that stuff, so I'll get it to you.
Okay.
Caroline, do you have anything?
Yeah, I do. I have actually a few things. Our February meeting always falls on the day that we're closed, which is President's Day, and it's been suggested that we pick another date for our February meeting, which either could be the Tuesday following the Monday that we're closed, or the following Monday, if that's what the board would like.
Would you open that up to discussion?
I think we should change it. But I don't care, you know,
Do you want it the week before or the week after?
it falls on February 16th. The third Monday's February 16th, so do you want it the week before, or do you want it the 17th? Or Caroline said something about it, I said what works best for the office, I mean, as far as paying bills and
Yeah.
stuff. that's-
Probably the next day would be good. Probably Tuesday would be good.
so-
Oh, to have it on a Tuesday night?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
just for that month to, get the bills paid the middle of the month, otherwise we're gonna run into
Okay,
probably some
so
overdue
that date
bills.
would be what, the?
17th.
17th?
January, Wednesday, 19th.
Well, I make a motion then that we change the date to the 17th of,
You're-
or,
Yeah,
is that
yeah.
February? Do we have a second for that motion?
I will.
Okay. We have a motion to change the meeting in a second.
You doing the meeting, do we approve them the beginning of the year, or do we approve them in the budget?
We approved them just before the end of the year to be
Yeah,
published at
yeah,
the end of the year. But I thought we should discuss this now before we get to that point.
Yep.
Okay.
So do we need a roll call vote? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Nay, motion carries.
Okay, the other thing is, we have we have a whole bunch of stuff that needs to be shredded over at the DPW building. And I have two quotes, one from Shred It, formerly Cintas. They are at $380.80 for the amount of stuff we have estimated over there. And I had Scott Bradley come from Blue Water Secure Shredding, which is part of, it's the ARC, but it's now called, what did I say? Community. Thank you. Thank you. And their price is 1,000 pounds for $200. So they're quite a bit less for what we want done. Now, that's a little bit ballpark figure because we didn't, I have to be honest, we didn't count the boxes exactly. And they actually, of course, go by pounds, and some of the boxes are lighter than others, but it seemed to be an obvious lighter quote from Blue Water Secure Shredding. And they do a lot of shredding in this area, a lot of other townships. So, anyway,
So what do you recommend?
I would, I've never had either one of them, but I guess I would personally select probably the local community Blue Water Secure Shredding. The other one's out of Troy and Plymouth, and more money.
Was that your motion?
I'll move to approve that. Would you like me to do that, Al?
Sure, I'll support you.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion to support, to accept the bid of $200 for the shredding.
Yeah, that's a wrong figure. It's actually 20 cents per 1,000 pounds. It's 22 cents if you're under 1,000 pounds. I think we're gonna make it, we have a lot of stuff there. So,
What's the rate on the
Well,
other one?
let's get the motion right then. We're gonna pay 22 cents.
Pay up to 22 cents a pound. to shred.
okay. The other one, Jody?
Well,
The other one is by the
Worried about
box.
comparing.
Is by the box, $8.50 for a long box, $7 for a short box. For 40 boxes it comes, plus they have a fuel charge,
Yeah.
20%, or it's 12%, sorry, I don't want to quote that. So that's what their quote is.
Can't put it next one.
Okay. Do you want to change your motion to the pounds then?
No,
Please.
no, because one's, oh,
Yeah, just the 22 cents a pound.
Yeah.
Up to 22 cents a pound, then
Okay.
you're covered, right?
okay,
In case you have 1,100 pounds.
in case we do. There's a lot of stuff there. Okay,
Okay, we have a motion to accept the bid of 22 cents.
up to.
Up to 22 cents
Mhm.
per hundred. Roll call vote, please.
Yes, Mrs. Trumbull, yes. Mr. Brylet?
Yes.
Mrs. Minnie?
Yes.
Mr. Platzer?
Yes.
Mr. Apple?
Yes. Motion carries.
One other thing. Okay, this is a decision we have to make. We have to make a call here. We have a party that would like to rent the Old Town Hall for August, in August of 2015 for a wedding reception. But they would also like to be able to rent it for Friday evening to set it up, because the wedding's in the morning on Saturday, so they really don't have time to be there in the morning to set up for the party. What they were requesting was that they pay the $100 for Saturday, which includes the deposit, that if everything is cleaned up, they get a refund on that. They were requesting that they only pay the $50 rental for Friday night, because there isn't the option of cleaning up, because they'll be setting up. So that they would, instead of $200 for for Friday evening and Saturday, that they would pay $150. They would still pay their deposit, but. And that's not the first time we've had that request. That's the first time that people said, we can't do it the other way, because we've had told people that they have to pay for the Friday setup or whatever, and they back out and work it out. This one, we'd like to follow through with it.
Well, what have we done in the past?
Told them that they had to pay for 2 days, and they only paid for one.
Well, in actuality, they're gonna get the $50 back anyway, right?
I was gonna say, if they pay
Right.
200 for the deposit,
I would
They're
not-
still gonna get the two
they're
deposits.
still gonna
I
get it
would not
back,
change
so.
I would not change the process, I mean,
Well,
just-
well, wait a minute, then here's the thing though, on Friday night, they're gonna be set up, it's not gonna be cleaned up. They'll be setting up for Saturday.
But they'll get it back.
yeah, but we understand that, but they're still gonna get their deposit back at the end of end of the deal.
And they're still paying their $50 rent for Friday night.
They're paying their
They're
$50
gonna pay the
rent
rent.
for Friday night.
Yeah,
So here's the question, will we charge them 150 or 200?
200?
200.
Okay,
And
so we
they're
pay
still gonna
Chuck,
get their 100 back.
I mean,
we pay Chuck to go in and inspect on Friday night too then. What's he gonna inspect, because they're not gonna be cleaned
Well,
up?
there's no need to go in and
Yeah,
inspect it.
they just get their.
There's no need to send them over there and inspect it if they're not gonna,
That's the
you
question.
know, they're setting it up. But I mean, I don't think we should change the policy and start doing that, you know.
That's the question. And we've
Just
had that
explain to
question
them that,
before.
you know, it's a $200 deal and you're gonna get $100 back if the place is cleaned up when you're done.
There you go. Everybody agree?
I guess that's one man's opinion. I guess what's the rest of the board feel? Anybody else?
Jody?
No, I said the same thing.
No?
Why would you change it?
Yeah, okay.
Well, we've had a lot of requests for that, and I thought I would bring it up before the board, because that's, either Marilyn or I have to,
Well, I think we should just, we got a policy, we should just keep it,
Okay.
you know.
okay.
Because that's the thing that gets out. Once it gets out, well, you did it for them and you're not gonna do it for
Well,
us. and, you
that's
know,
right.
So,
And there's no alcohol, right?
No. No alcohol in any of the township buildings. Okay, that's all my questions, or all my,
okay, Jody, treasurer's report?
No, I don't have anything.
Cindy?
Nope,
Yeah.
except one thing, I'm sorry, I see the trees are gone,
Yes,
so you can go and pick out a tree for Jim's and,
yes, we can. We already approved that last month. so.
right, so,
And the cement that was around that tree is under the stuff, here in the chapel.
oh, okay, thank you.
So we put it back. Just want to get it over.
are you gonna go pick a tree?
I don't care, you can, don't matter to me, that's,
Pick one that'll live this time, will you?
Yeah, please.
Getting tired of replacing
Boy,
these trees.
that one lasted a long time, and then we.
Maybe we should wait till spring to plant it.
I think we should.
According to the winter, it's gonna be a tough winter, maybe we should wait for it.
We've got a lot of
in the
dead trees to
spring.
deal with.
Oh, okay.
You know, you got anything?
just, we need to touch base with Jack and make sure they're gonna get going on our ditch pool mix.
They just graded today and chlorided, at least part of the township.
I'll check.
So
with
they
them.
just finished.
I mean, it's scheduled to go.
Yeah, I know,
Yeah.
and it's time, and they,
Yes, instead of the spring.
yeah, but we really need to hit down the bike path this first mile.
With
Well,
boom
I
And we
axing,
really need to look at that.
With boom
different
axing?
Next year, yeah.
just mowing it.
Well, between the road and the bike path, it's, I mean, remarkable part of the other day, so.
Between the what?
The road
Between
and
the
the
road
bike
and the bike path, going down State Road, weeds are,
They're not supposed to be, they're supposed to mow that every week.
no, they will 5
No,
foot.
not-
Yeah,
no,
just so many
no.
feet they
I'm
do.
talking the whole.
The whole ditch,
Oh, you're talking from State Road on to Myrtle?
up
Is
to
that what
the
you're
bike
talking?
path,
No,
yeah.
it's from Myrtle to Burns, along State Road.
From the edge of the
Oh,
road
okay.
down
okay.
to their 5 foot.
Okay, I was thinking you were talking about.
Kevin's
Myrtle.
is, no, Kevin's is doing what they're supposed to be doing, but
I thought
we
they were
need to get that mowed. You know, there's a lot of people.
from Myrtle to State.
Yeah.
So, are we asking the county to do that?
Well, the county should be doing it with this boom axing that we approved way back in the spring, and
Okay.
we approved the year before, and they didn't do it. That's why.
Okay.
Well, we got some dead trees and some of these ditches we got.
We've got a bunch of dead trees we've got to go after in the park again too. And we need to look into planting in the spring maybe.
Okay, anything else? Extended public comment, is there any?
The pavilion, you got signs up there, and I didn't read them, but it seems like people aren't using the pavilion since the signs went up. Just a personal observation, I go down there almost every day. So I'm curious as to whether or not the sign reads that you have to rent it.
And either,
um,
I don't think so.
Because I don't want to discourage people from, thinking that, oh, I can't use this unless I pay for it.
Oh, no, I don't.
That- no,
I believe it
I don't
read.
know how I read
I
it.
hope.
I believe it
know
read
signs
it's
went up,
available.
We had reservations, that was great.
Well, I was gonna say it's September though, you're not having too many picnics there, but,
No.
I don't know.
It got colder.
Okay.
We'll
It's a
certainly,
poster- it's a
we'll certainly
poster
put a
read.
blurb on the webpage that, that it's it's open to everybody, I mean, unless they want to lease it for, you know, a family reunion or something like that. Yeah, I don't know, I don't know.
Yeah, because, you know, I noticed that there was a reservation there,
Yeah,
and that, you know, the other thing was.
but you think
as
that's
it
the
was
idea
supposed to
now,
be,
that they've
but
got to rent it.
I didn't know how it read.
Yeah.
You know, I just thought maybe somebody could reread it. and-
1 cent, and you're not sure of, but I'm pretty sure that's 90 days. What's our next course of action
Well,
with the raccoon house? And number 2, we have representatives from the library, from the fire department, and so on. How come the building inspector, all the times I've been to the meeting, has never been to the meeting?
well, we don't request that he comes unless, you know, unless there's a special item that's going on. We've never requested to go.
We asked him to come.
Yeah, if they'll come, the zoning administrator or either time, you know.
It's just a curiosity, you know,
Yeah.
because
No, normally,
it's not that I don't trust you, but maybe, you know, if he sees that we keep coming month and
listen,
month and-
I can tell you
You know,
every day,
he knows.
I tell him, you know, they're ready to hang us up on the flagpole out here. I said, you know, we gotta get this taken care of, you know, but,
The zoning administrator's probably gonna have to step in on this.
But yeah, what?
I'll have him check, I'll have him check that. I really thought, and I might have my dates mixed up too.
Yeah, our next course of action, the reason I ask is I know, I'm not sure if it's 1 or 2 roads over, I know at one time, and it was this, either last fall or this spring, y'all knocked down a house on Huron's because of blight.
No, we didn't knock it down.
Well,
They
township
did.
did knock it
It was,
down.
it was taken down.
He did it himself.
The people did that owned it did.
He got the letter, you know, that it
Yeah,
needed to be,
because
and he did it himself.
And he did it himself.
He
But we
We didn't have to
rules.
take it.
He cooperated.
But
Yes.
to answer your question, the next step of this is, if it is 90 days and the house isn't, you know, hasn't made any progress, is now that it's gonna go before, it'll go to court.
It'll go to district court
But-
instead of magistrate now, or circuit.
These pictures that you guys have given us every month will probably be going up to I would imagine.
Oh, yeah, we'll send that
Yeah,
out.
because like
We'll
you
get it
said,
all dug.
it's a game, and I'm sorry to say it that way, but it is. It's
Well,
like-
that's
You're absolutely
that's where
right.
it'll go from here, because if they're past their date, you know,
Okay.
it'll go to circuit court. They'll go before a judge now, because they're really in violation of the court order, because they had to finish the project.
District.
Is it district or is it circuit?
I think
I
it's,
think
District.
that's what I'm
District.
wondering.
Okay.
but anyway, that's where it's gonna go. That's where it'll end up. So, and that, we don't even do that with, you know, then our attorney will be taking over, you know.
Well, hopefully it's a.
Right now, they
Well,
try
it's
to do,
speedier
they try to do
process.
with the magistrate, you know, it goes to the magistrate first. and,
Well, that's what we've already done.
Yeah,
And that's
We know
why,
that.
you know, oh, yeah.
and we
And
had
that- and
another
that's the
deal
thing.
last week, just to fill the board in too. The other deal that we have going on was a no-show in court, so, you know, just to fill everybody in on that deal, he didn't show up in court either, so that'll probably be handed over to the attorney too. So,
Yeah, I mean, this is, you know,
anybody else?
I don't know.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there anything going on with the property right on Lake Shore near Memoir Street for Tom Holbert? I've come up here several times over the last few years. Bill Bosch was working on it, and then I understand he retired.
He retired. We need your name and address.
Noreen Johnson,
Thank you,
3511 Memoir Street,
thank you.
report. And we did hand out a lot of the complaints to the neighbors too, and they were coming up and turning them in. And I called the new guy who took over for Bill. I called him about 3 or 4 times.
He's gone. We now have a new one.
Okay. But
And
another new
this
one?
one is-
A second new one?
Yes.
Okay.
And this one, we're really hopeful. He also is here regularly Monday mornings.
Okay.
The other fellow I think he was gonna do a good job for us, but he just had too much to do. His job at his other cities just kept him too busy and he couldn't do it. So we now have a new one who I believe is gonna, get the job done for us.
Have you turned in are these complaints that are just turned in again?
And what's the problem there?
Over about a year ago.
Oh, they,
He never cuts the grass from day
Okay.
one. And we've gotten raccoons out of his lot, we've gotten mice. all
Does he
kinds
live
of-
there?
No, all kinds of
It's
insects.
an empty
No,
house.
it's the house that we burnt down
The training session.
4 years ago in the training session.
Yeah,
That's the property she's talking about.
I've known the guy for 20 years and he hasn't cut the grass now for
So there's no
at
house
least
there?
5. No. There's two, there's a garage, there's another shed, and then there's the cement porch that was left from
do
the
you know what the
house.
address is? Offhand?
Well, that's not.
We have it at home,
We
but
have
it's,
I'm sure that, yeah, we'll look it up,
Yeah.
because I'm sure that,
It's town.
I know
We'll
where
have, we'll have Rob look
Yeah,
at it.
yeah.
it's
I'll have him look at that.
If nothing else, then we'll after him.
I have to say, my experience
Yeah,
with
that's a
Mr.
lot.
Cowan,
Yeah.
our new one is Rod Cowan, he also works for Clyde Township. He's been very prompt at making sure anything he writes to people, any responses he gives out, I'm receiving them.
good.
He calls people right back, I think,
Letters go out almost
Letters
immediately
go out
to the
almost
people, so
immediately.
it's,
he's only been here a couple of weeks, so,
Oh, well.
we're hoping.
I was getting real discouraged when that last guy didn't call, and I thought, I better see what's going on.
Yeah, it just, it was a nice try, but it just didn't work. He was too
Yeah.
busy.
Since my grandkids live with me, and they're only 6 and 7, and they've been bitten up all summer long, no matter how much I treat my yard. And I've got the stockade fence behind the house. But even the new neighbors that just purchased the house on the corner, they don't know what to do because they're just overwhelmed by the,
we'll get Rod on.
Okay.
thank you.
I'll pull one of the old forms out of the book.
Okay. And if there's any district on a certain property, I'm sure you'll find quite a few from all the neighbors too.
Okay,
Because we handed out about 10 different forms.
all right, okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Anybody else? Okay, I think we will close now. We'll go into executive session to do Dusty's review. So, thank you very much.
I'm all.
Thank you.
Yep.